only natural ingredients. If that's not enough, Sweden, Norway, and Finland recently classified almost all vitamins, herbs, and supplements as prescription drugs. Commercial drug companies and pharmacies are, of course, having a field day. With the health food stores out of the way, in Norway, a low-potency vitamin-mineral multiple that would sell for $5 in the U.S. now costs $45. And the American Food and Drug Administration's experts have the bright idea of imposing the same thing on us. New regulations that were supposed to go into effect June '93 that were drawn up at the request of the Bush administration, they're now precariously on hold, but they would require a doctor's prescription for anything over 100 milligrams of vitamin C, and even classify amino acids as drugs. Even though protein is made from amino acids, and 8 amino acids are considered essential to life. Only in America would disease be treated as a healthy growth industry, where Hillary Clinton and her pals in the insurance industry push so-called managed competition for health care, an idea originated by Nixon, by the way. Even though a Congress General Accounting Office report says a single-payer system getting rid of those insurance companies, like they do in Canada, would have saved $67 billion in 1991 alone. America, where cancer research experts spend millions every year searching for a magic cure or vaccine instead of working with environmental groups to clean up the pollution that causes a lot of the cancer in the first place. Mental health experts close mental health clinics. Prefer drugging and zapping everyone to prevention and treatment, including feeding Ritalin to 750,000 school kids for goofing off in class. So what do we have now? Homeless human beings who can't take care of themselves. We have the highest drug abuse rate in the Western world. Yet government experts say treatment and rehab are less important than spending billions of dollars continuing to beef up the police state under the guise of the drug war, as more and more drugs slip into the country anyway. What does it say about us when the main growth industry in some parts of this country is in building prisons? Someday, even the experts will figure out that crime is not caused by rap music or even my music, but by a power structure of self-absorbed property owners so brain-dead and stupid they won't even see that if you're too goddamn greedy to pay taxes for schools and services, they're not going to be any good anymore. And that uneducated time bombs are a very poor investment as a future workforce. And if you go on teaching people that life is cheap and leave them to rot in ghettos and jails, they may one day feel justified in coming back to rob and kill you. Duh. If you take one thing out of this tonight, I hope it'll be that not all taxes are such a bad thing if they're spent in the right place. But are there any business experts left in this country who are smart enough to know when not to be greedy? Has any multi-million-dollar executive cut their salary to zero till their company is back in the black? Instead, we're told that we'll be better off than ever if we brush aside those pesky pollution laws, replace union shops with third-world slave labor, and corral the leftovers at home in temporary electronic sweatshop computer jobs, the kind with no day-to-day security and no benefits. Robert Brusca, chief economist at Nikko Securities in New York, put it best here, quote, "Workers will have to realize that they are now competing for jobs against people who ride to work every day on bicycles, own only one pair of shabby sandals, and are prepared to live with their families crammed into tiny apartments." The tortoiseshell glasses and fangs crowd has been remarkably candid lately, haven't they? And they have the gall to call that free trade. You'd think, With everything falling apart at home, some experts somewhere would point out what a bad investment it was to spend $450 billion to fail to wipe out Saddam Hussein just to rescue a kingdom where the penalty for being Jewish is death. You'd think they'd learn after World War I, when defeated Germans got no aid, had to pay war reparations instead, till hyperinflation got so bad it took a wheelbarrow full of Deutschmarks to buy a loaf of bread. And people grew so miserable and so frustrated that Hitler could manipulate his way into power. Second time around after World War II, there was the Marshall Plan to rebuild Germany and make sure a Hitler didn't happen again. So why do our foreign policy experts now withhold real money to help rebuild the former Soviet Union? All those potential Pepsi drinkers abandoned to the kind of crazy dictators that experts prefer to do business with, thinking, yes, we'll carve ourselves another Latin America, a giant new pool of cheap, exploitable labor. So much the better if they fall for a Hitler. My favorite new comedian, Vladimir Zhirinovsky, who 4 years ago was selling jackets and T-shirts to metalheads in a biker shop, now claims he will be absolute ruler of the greater Soviet Empire by 1996, threatens Germany with one too many Chernobyls, and claims Finland and Alaska are Russian territory. What a perfect excuse for a new arms race, if our experts can keep him around. But don't look too close at what's right in front of our nose. It's too hard. We need experts like Rush Limbaugh to explain it. Bigots like Donald Wildman and Catherine McKinnon to protect us from it. Decisions should be left to experts. They have more experience, and look how well it's used. When I ran for mayor of San Francisco in 1979, some folks had the nerve to say I was unqualified because I had no experience in the bowels of City Hall. I said, yo, that makes me more qualified. I ain't been bought yet. I've done everything else on the scandal scale, adultery, drugs, stepping on toes, you name it, but I have yet to take my first bribe. You should try running for office sometime. Elections coming up, guarantee you'll learn a lot. Help take our lives and planet back in the spirit of Putney Swope. Anybody out there seen Putney Swope? One of the great buried movies of the 60s. It's on video now. I won't give it away, but rent it, please. Putney Swope. How much worse off would we be if our leaders were chosen by lottery instead of expertocracy? But for crying out loud, don't just follow the bouncing dot blindly along, courtesy of experts like me. Dig. Get a second opinion. Get a 20-second opinion. Delve deeper and check this stuff out yourself. It's fun. It's fascinating. It'll blow your mind. You might even turn up some flaming horror story to Xerox and send to my mailbox. And to all the ice-water-veined experts, the Star Wars scientists, trickle-down economists, 5-year plan Stalinists, and managed health competition witch doctors, I say, don't just question authority, question everything.